Well, you'll be unsurprised to hear that the disgraced former Health Secretary Matt Hancock has disgraced himself again, as has the disgraced former Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng, who were both caught up by an undercover sting, agreeing to work for a fake South Korean company for thousands of pounds a day. Let's have a look at the footage from the campaign group led by donkeys.
So we were wondering, do you have a daily rate at the moment?
I do, yes. It's 10,000 sterling.
We would like to talk about arrangements of fees. I mean, do you have a daily rate?
Yeah, I mean, a yearly rate.
Yes.
I mean, I would say, as an MP, obviously I don't need to earn a king's ransom, but I would do anything less than for about $10,000 a month.
And so it went unedifyingly on. MPs are allowed to have second jobs. There's no suggestion of parliamentary rule breaking, just pure greed. So should MPs actually be paid more to stop them behaving in this grasping way in the first place? Well, joining me now is the podcast host and author of An Immigrant's Love Letter to the West, Konstantin Kisin. Konstantin, welcome back to the programme. Great to do your podcast, by the way. I've had a great reaction to it. Good, bad and ugly, which is the perfect reaction to any interview.
Thanks for coming on.
When you watched all this in its full gory details, it was so gruesome to watch. And it was the usual suspects, Hancock, Kwarteng. Didn't surprise me at all that Kwarteng had very little grasp on reality of money.
I love the way he said yearly rate, like he's upselling you already. I did enjoy that.
Your takeaway from that was that you have a belief that MP should be paid a lot more money. I have to say, I sort of share that view. I sort of think if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys, right? And we're paying peanuts and getting people who just seem to me to be extremely low caliber politicians. And we need to somehow raise that bar. Would money alone do that, do you think?
Well, the headline, pay them more, is what people took away from what I've been saying about this. My view is, yes, you pay them more, but you then also ban them from... You say they're allowed to have second jobs. They're allowed to have third jobs and fourth jobs and fifth jobs. So as long as the incentive structure is there, they're not getting paid a huge amount for the job that they're doing. Obviously, compared to the ordinary person, they're being paid a fair chunk of money. But compared to other people operating at the top of society. I mean, if you wanted your favourite football club to be run by someone who's very good, you'd happily pay them $3-4 million quid a year, right?
And in Singapore, they pay apparently their politicians a lot of money, millions of dollars. So they take a view that you then attract the best talent. Your country benefits. It's actually a small price to pay.
You get what you pay for. And I think with them, you have to ban the second, third and fourth jobs and so on. And you have to make sure that they put the stocks and shares in the trust where they don't get benefits from companies being traded in a certain way and whatever. But the bottom line is, Piers, you get what you pay for. And
it's interesting. I mean, on that
point, we have to get better people into Parliament.
Right. So Singapore, they get £672,000 a year for an average member of Parliament in Singapore. Spain is only 49,000, Germany 108,000, United States senators £142,000, and France just under £80,000. So I guess by comparison to most of Europe, ours get this, in the kind of middle range of that. But Singapore dramatically different, and they believe over there it really does attract a better calibre.
And that makes perfect sense to me. I just think one of the biggest problems with our politics, Piers, is people think about tribe rather than results. And if you're tribal about this, you go, well, Hancock and Kwarteng, of course. But actually, cast your mind back to the Blair government. It's not like they were all squeaky clean either. We have a system in which the incentive structure encourages politicians not to take money from us and to serve us. We have a political system where they take money from, in this case, some pretend Korean company. And who are they then serving?
Well, exactly. I completely agree. I want to switch to another story which I thought would probably get your interest. The Guardian newspaper owners, so The Guardian being the most woke newspaper on planet Earth, absolutely beyond reproach. And they've led cancel culture, they've led wokery. They are purer than pure, whiter than white, in all things ethical. And they've had an unfortunate moment today because the Scott Trust that owns The Guardian has had to issue a public apology because it turns out the origins of the wealth used to establish The Guardian came from slavery. A review found the paper's founder, John Edward Taylor, had links to slavery through partnerships in cotton manufacturing. Obviously, The Guardian reaction is to fall on its knees, beg for mercy, announce all sorts of initiatives to prove they're not a bunch of racists and so on. You'd expect that from The Guardian. But a comical irony that the paper that's driven, probably more than any publication in the world, this kind of woke mentality and been hectoring everybody else about their own shortcomings, gets caught like this.
This is a very good example of this whole thing more generally, where most of these people who claim to be kind and compassionate, they behave in the most awful ways towards the people that they disagree with. And I think this is where, I'm not, I don't spend a lot of time reading The Guardian. I'm not going to cancel The Guardian.
It's actually bad for my mental health, so I don't.
But what I do think is, everyone lives in a glass house to some extent. And I think what I take out of this is we should also stop throwing rocks around. Because I genuinely think that if you dig down long enough, every one of us has some ancestor who did something wrong. And the less we focus on things that happened 300 years ago, and the more we come together and try to solve the problems of today, I think the better off we're going to be.
I just think this self-flagellation over historical stuff, which current people had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
What's the point? It's like this thing in San Francisco. We're looking to pay millions and millions of dollars to every black person who lives in San Francisco as some kind of reparations for what previous generations did hundreds of years ago. I don't understand how that helps anybody.
No, it doesn't. And as you know, I talk about it in the book and the issue of slavery more broadly. I just think we've got stuck in the past in a way that's completely unhelpful. Many of the conversations we have now in the West are about looking inward and going, why are we so bad? Why are we so wrong? And the case I make in An Immigrant's Love Letter to the West is we live in one of the most open, tolerant, genuinely progressive societies in the history of humanity.
Yes.
Let's appreciate that. Let's at least notice that, for God's sake.
When did we stop celebrating our country? Right? I feel the same way about America. A new poll came out today saying the majority of Americans, for the first time I can remember, now no longer think it's the best country in the world. Americans always used to do that, right? Now they don't. There's a kind of, again, self-flagellation about the state of the countries now, whereas America and Britain, in many ways, are two of the great countries of the world today.
Unquestionably.
Right?
And to me, it's mind-boggling that we're in this position. But beyond being sort of frustrated and going, oh, these pink-haired idiots are running around, ruin whatever, to me, this is a real threat, Piers. Because if we in the West do not have the strength of our convictions, we do not have the courage to stand up and say, our history is the same as the history of every other society. We've done good and bad. But on balance, we're good people, we are people who are doing good in the world, then other people will come and take over. That's how it works.
The best people ever in the history of this planet have all been flawed geniuses.
Right.
I'm talking to one and you're facing one. Two prime examples. Konstantin, great to see you. Immigrants Love Letter to the West, really excellent book. Making the points you just made. Good to see you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Piers.